Hello and welcome to the panel today on increased food recovery for prepared foods. My name is Laura Abshire and I'm with the National Restaurant Association and I'll be moderating the panel today. I'm really excited to have all the speakers we have today to talk about what they're doing in their operations to reduce food waste and increase food donation. So we will begin. So just to set the stage a little bit, I wanted to give you guys some overview ideas about what's going on in the industry as far as restaurant and food service on food waste. Last year, for the first time, we saw in our survey results food waste reduction come up. We've been doing this What's Hot survey for years. The Restaurant Foundation was created in 1919, so we've been doing this probably about 50 years. And we survey 1,600 chefs on the top food trends every year. And so last year, for the first time, it showed up as number 9, so in the top 10 of food trends, and it had never before. So clearly there's something going on either in the industry itself, in the consumer behavior, or in media that's causing this. And then this year, it moved to number 19, and environmental sustainability was number 6. So we can see that it is a trend in the food service industry. Also, in some of our research, we found that eco-friendly is really mattering to consumers out there. We asked a lot of questions about what they're more likely to go to a restaurant or food service operation based on their environmental practices. And 3 out of 5 said that consumers, or 3 out of 5 consumers said that they're more likely to make a restaurant choice based on its eco-friendly practices, one of those being food waste. So one of the things we have at the National Restaurant Association is called the Conserve program, and it's really just our environmental education website that gives all of the environmental initiatives that NRA is working on. NRA, Buns Not Guns, the other NRA. One of those is food waste, and so we have a lot of resources. We have it's free sustainability education for restaurateurs, and then also it's free to the public as well. But it's got lots of videos and best practices and waste reduction and water and energy, blogs with industry leaders, and then we have a monthly newsletter. So if you'd like to subscribe to the newsletter, you can go and find that on our website. It's restaurant.org/conserve. And then another thing that we've done is join the Food Waste Reduction Alliance. I'm sure some of you have heard about this, but it's a collaboration between the restaurants, the grocery stores, and the manufacturers. We got together a couple years ago and decided how can we best deal with the food waste issue and tackle it together. And so we've put out a lot of best practice toolkits. We've put out an assessment survey to our members because a lot of the information out there and survey results are aggregates and estimates, and we wanted to get real data. So we're working on our second iteration of that right now. So that's my contact information if you need me, but I want to turn it over to the panel now to talk about what they're doing in this area, and we'll go through each one of them and then open it up for some questions. We want to have a real kind of casual question and answer session towards the end, so prepare your questions as we go. So first I will turn it over to Mindy from Panera Bread.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Mindy Gomez-Caceres. I'm the Senior Manager of Corporate Social Responsibility at Panera Bread, and so I have responsibility for overseeing our social and environmental programs. Before I get started, I just want to give everybody a little bit of an overview about our company. We are over 2,000 cafes across the U.S. and Canada. We have about 1,000 company-owned stores, 1,000 franchisee stores. We serve about 10 million guests each week. And we have what we call our omni-channel strategy. So in addition to focusing on our bakery cafes, we also have other initiatives to increase catering, to increase a small order delivery program, and we also have a growing CPG business. I think one of the key things when talking about food waste as it relates to Panera is that there are a bunch of initiatives that are really integrated into our business model from the start. We also have initiatives that really focus on improving the guest experience, as well as in improving efficiency, which all go towards eliminating the use of food or reducing food waste in our overall system. So I want to talk about a few of these first. And the first thing is our made-to-order model. And so if you think about going into a Panera Cafe, you would place your order and we would make it for you right then and there on the spot. And this ensures freshness and quality. It also has an impact on how much food is wasted, because at the end of the night, we really don't have any prepared food that might go to waste. Another important thing about our made-to-order system is that there's a high degree of customization available. So if you don't like onions on your salad, like I don't, instead of having to spend all the time going through and picking out the onions and then throwing them in the trash after my meal is done, I can just order it without onions, and we save that product from going into the trash at the end of the day. I think the other thing about our made-to-order system is that you can order half portions. So you could order a half of a salad, a half of a sandwich, a cup of soup instead of a bowl of soup. All of this also makes sure that the guests can get the portion that they want and desire. It also means that that full portion that might not have been eaten doesn't go into the trash. So that in and of itself, I think, helps us control both our food costs as well as food that might be wasted. The second big initiative is around order accuracy. And we have a big initiative now called Panera 2.0, which is all about improving the guest experience and eliminating friction. And so one of those things is if you get a wrong order, you're going to be an unhappy guest. So what we've been doing is putting in place a double and triple check-in system to make sure that every order is accurate. And in doing so, we make for happier guests, but we also are eliminating waste, because if we send out a salad to a guest, it's not right, it comes back to us. Once that salad's been in the hands of the consumer, we can no longer serve it, so it goes in the trash. So that's another initiative that's helping to reduce the amount of food that we have to buy, but also be able to throw away. The third initiative is around inventory management. And this is more of a back of the house initiative. And we've been spending a lot of time figuring out what are the right algorithms for us to be able to project what we're going to need in a cafe every day. And we've done a lot of work to align our inventory management system with our point of sale system so that we can really right size that inventory in a way that's going to make sense for our cafes and for guests. The second thing that we do is we provide variance reports to all our general managers. And this is something that they're measured on. So food costs is a big part of our cost. And so if we have the general managers who are in the cafe who know exactly what the conditions are going to be, when we pair that up with our inventory management system, we're really able to right-size inventory in a way that also eliminates us having to buy that food in the first place. So I think all of these initiatives that are kind of combined with improving the guest experience, as well as really increasing efficiency, have gone a long way for us to making sure that we're ordering what we need and using what guests want. The next thing I want to talk about is our food donation program. For a long time, Panera Bread has been committed to the issue of food insecurity. We've been donating our our end-of-day product to organizations around the country. And I think the reason I wanted to touch on this in a little bit more detail is because we have probably a different model than most companies are using, but we manage this all in-house. So the full scope of the program is we donate about $100 million in unsold baked goods every year. That's a combined number for company and franchisee. And to give you a sense of scale, each year that touches about 4,000 organizations just for company-owned cafes, so just for half of our system. The way that it works is that if we open up a new store, we would reach out to local organizations in the community, tell them about the program, ask them to apply, and then we have an online system where they would submit all their eligibility criteria. We'd review the criteria, and if they're eligible, we'd assign them nights for pickup. Oftentimes, fortunately, we have more organizations than nights to be filled, and so we also have many wait lists, which is a good position to be in case an organization's situation changes and we need to switch out organizations. We also have a food safety packaging protocol. Granted, this is not as complicated as having to kind of maintain cold chain. But the good thing about it is we are able to use our chip boxes. All those chip boxes kind of come pre-printed with a safe handling and kind of allergen label on them. Associates can put a bag, line the chip box, put the donation in, and then it's an easily carried donation for anyone that's picking up.
Is that bread only? Sorry.
It's bread and sweet goods.
Sweet goods as well.
Yeah. So that gives you a little bit of a look at some of the initiatives we have ongoing. I think this also has to talk about challenges. And I think one of our biggest challenges is starting to figure out how can we better, more accurately measure everything, and not just from a food donation standpoint, but from a waste standpoint overall. And so we're working on doing a more holistic waste audit, complete with dumpster dives, so we can really parse out, what do we have that's currently going to waste that could be recycled, that could be donated, that could be composted eventually. And I imagine that will be a multi-year effort once we do that analysis. But it's what I see as our next step. So I'm happy to answer any questions after the rest of the presenters, but I'll turn it over to Claire.
I'm going to move my stuff so if someone wants to sit. I'm sorry. Hi, everyone. So my name is Claire Cummings. I'm the Waste Programs Manager for Bon Appetit Management Company. So a little bit about us. We are not the magazine, as a lot of people assume when I say I'm from Bon Appetit. We are an on-site food service company that feeds colleges and universities, corporate headquarters, and museums around the country. And what makes us unique and different is that we have a really strong commitment to food service for a sustainable future. So our dream is to be the premier on-site restaurant company known for its culinary expertise and commitment to socially responsible practices. We are culture-driven to create food that is alive with flavor and nutrition, prepared from scratch using authentic ingredients. And we came to this sustainability initiative out of a desire to provide originally good food for people, good food for our communities. And in the process of doing so, we learned a lot back when we started 20-some years ago, that we do this in a socially responsible manner for the well-being of our guests, communities, and the environment. And so, as I said, we do the food service for a lot of corporate headquarters. This is just a smattering of the businesses around the country that we feed at their corporate offices. And we also, about half of our business are colleges and universities. This is a smattering of some of those that we serve around the country. And we've had a significant amount of leadership on the issue of sustainable food service. This is, a list of them. But food waste has always been sort of in the background of what we do, from scratch cooking, batch cooking. All of these techniques are things that we've always done, but until recently, it's become a forefront of what we do and a very critical part of our sustainability mission. And a very clear example of that is the creation of my position as a dedicated waste programs manager within the company. So when they were talking earlier about, working with companies and not having a set person, my job is fully dedicated to fighting waste throughout our supply chain and in our operations. So our approach to sustainable waste management follows the EPA's food recovery hierarchy. We've got tons of different initiatives. So as a company, we've made a commitment. So our set commitment, which is called our low carbon lifestyle commitment, has sort of 5 different components. So the first is we expect all of our accounts to do one of these 5 things. We hope that they'll do all of them. The first is our Imperfectly Delicious Produce program. So it's a picture on the left-hand side of some of our chefs with some very overgrown basil that they saved after visiting a hydroponic farm that was going to toss it. We've been working to fight waste with our farms across the country since May 2014 is when we actually got the program up and running. We've saved over 1 million pounds of produce, and we're slated to do that this year again. So the program's just growing rapidly. And a little stat I like to throw out is that we've also saved over 50 different varieties of fruits and vegetables, which I think is pretty significant because it means that the issue of food waste on farms isn't particular to just one crop. It's not particular to just one place. It's ubiquitous. It's everywhere. So we ask that our accounts be regularly purchasing imperfectly delicious produce. Right now, the program's in about over half the states we operate, and we're hoping that by the end of 2016, it'll be everywhere. As I said, from scratch cooking, those are bones that we're using to produce our own stocks. We produce our own dressings from scratch. We have some chefs that are, buying whole animals, breaking them down themselves, and then utilizing every bit of that animal, which is a really cool thing, and of course, really enhances the flavor and the quality of the food that we provide to our guests. In the right-hand corner, that's a picture from University of Pennsylvania, where we have different accounts that are trying to launch reusable to-go container programs. So we focus on not just food waste, but waste, in the form of packaging waste. And we work with our accounts around the country to try to implement programs that reduce the amount of disposables that are used on campuses. The program I'm super excited to share with you, left-hand corner, so this is one that we ask our accounts to do for a month if they want to meet our source reduction commitment. It's a waste awareness campaign that we developed last year. It's a month-long campaign that includes a front of house, so a guest awareness raising component, and a back of house educational awareness raising and waste tracking component. And it's when we talk about, in the last session when they were talking about empowering employees, I think that this program really does just that. We have 10 at 10 trainings, we call them, 10 minutes at 10 o'clock every day, where our teams are getting together and talking about what's on the menu that day and what we can be doing better. And we crafted for this month-long campaign that each week, there's 2 different themes of food waste issues. So proper prepping techniques, how to properly sort your waste, how to utilize our fruits and vegetables to the fullest extent. And it engages everyone in the cafe, not just the executive chef, not just the manager, but all of our employees. And that's a picture of some students out front measuring the waste to empower and excite guests in reducing their plate waste, and hopefully then take those principles home and apply them. Going trayless, so we ask accounts that are all you care to eat facilities to try and go trayless, because it's been proven that when you have a tray, you're going to grab more than often you actually can eat. Pretty simple. The last one, right-hand corner, we ask our accounts, if they want to meet this commitment, that they participate in an annual waste tracking program. And I know we've got Andrew in the room here. If you're interested in learning more about LeanPath, we have a handful of accounts that are just getting into the LeanPath waste tracking system, and we're really excited about it, and I hope to see it expand. And moving down the hierarchy, feeding hungry people is obviously a really important part of fighting food waste and having a holistic approach to sustainable waste management. And so as a company, in addition to having this source reduction commitment where we're asking all of our accounts to do one of those 5 things that I showed you, we're also asking 80% or more, the majority of our accounts, to be donating their excess food to people in need and be food recovery certified. So we don't care who they donate to. We donate with a bunch of different organizations across the country, Feeding America, Food Recovery Network, Chefs End Hunger, Food for Free. We've got lots of great partners all across the country. We just ask that they meet the Food Recovery Certified commitment. And some people sort of ask me, well, what's the point of that? And the point of having that certification as a part of our commitment is that it holds all of our programs to a certain bar. And it says, if you're going to donate food, it shouldn't just be a one-time donation. It shouldn't just be when you're moving out and you're clearing out your fridge. It should be a regular part of your operations. And that's what part of having this food recovery certified commitment does is it not just says we're doing food recovery, it says we need to be doing it well. So by the end of 2018, we're expecting to have 80%. I'm, of course, shooting for 100%. We can talk about why it's 80% at another time. But it's going to be a tough commitment to meet, but I think we can do it, and we're well on our way. And then the other picture in there, we've supported initiatives around gleaning, and we've partnered with the Food Recovery Network to develop a guide to gleaning because we recognize that there's opportunity to recover beyond just our prepared food in our kitchens and cafes, and we want to empower our students in particular to be able to go, beyond their dining halls onto farms and start saving good, wholesome produce from going to waste. So that was, I think I breezed through that, but I'm going to be around for today, and if you guys have any questions beyond this panel, I'm happy to talk to you about any of those programs. There's a lot of nuances, a lot of challenges in there that, some we've figured out, some we haven't figured out, and I'd love to hear from you, and, always open to collaboration as well. So thank you.
I'm going to try this without. I've never been called soft-spoken.
What?
Sasha. My name is Steve Dietz, and I'm with a company called Food Donation Connection. And the first question I want to ask you is, how many of you are excited we can finally talk about donate prepared foods? Well, guess what? We've been doing it 24 years. We've been doing it a long time. And now it's time, after listening to Tristan in there, I think I'm even more fired up. I usually been pretty fired up already. To talk about, we've got to work through the myths of why people don't donate food. I do business development for our company, so I'm the one that goes and talks to all the executives and asks them to donate their surplus food and why they should. And I've heard every excuse like you have. We don't have it, our shareholders will be mad, there's liability concerns, we have nobody to pick it up. We've heard it all. But now we're at a point now, we fight back. Politically fight back and address those concerns with facts, okay? Now, let's talk about who we are. We basically manage food donation companies for our donors. Most companies don't, their primary concern is to sell their product, service their customer, and make a profit, right? Reverse logistics is typically not their forte. They don't understand how agencies function. They don't understand how the nonprofit works. So that's where we step in. So we currently do almost nearly 18,000 locations donating in the U.S., Canada, Ireland, and the UK currently, and other countries coming as well. Because a lot of our donors are international corporations that want us to take the message of food donation international. We're in all types of things. We were founded in the restaurant industry. Bill Rickard, our founder, is actually here today. He used to be the head of worldwide quality and technical for Pizza Hut. So he got a calling to give back to the community, and this was an idea of his that really has grown to a huge proportion. We cover restaurants now. We cover universities. We do Harvard. We do hospitals. We do St. Jude Children's Hospital. We do 76 airports. We do 80 motorways or oases along the East Coast that you go to see. We do malls. We do groceries, I said, and convenience stores. How many of you know who Wawa is? They're a great donor. They're a great donor. All of this food gets picked up by about 9,000 nonprofit agencies. Like I said, we don't pick it up. We're the link. We're the match. We make sure we know what the process is going to be for the donor to get their food safe, because that's the biggest key. It's got to be safe. Then we've got to make sure it's picked up on a scheduled basis. This is not call when you have some, because guess what? No one ever calls. So it's on a scheduled basis so the donor knows when they're going to be there. They're going to be prepared with food when they're going to be there. We also document it. It's all logged in our system. We track every single item that gets donated by company. In the grocery industry, we actually track it by SKU. We know every single SKU that gets donated and where it goes. So when a recall comes, in less than probably 30 seconds, I can tell you every single agency that we work with that got that SKU. We know how many they got. We know when they got them. And we have a call center that calls those directly and gets that pulled from the shelf. Who do we get food to? Any kind of agency. I mean, there are all kinds. Domestic abuse shelters. We work with a lot of Feeding America affiliates. And you know, how big has this become? It looks like 1.6 million donation transfers last year. That means we coordinated 1.6 million individual pickups of food from restaurants, hotels, grocery stores, and all that. It's about 60 million pounds last year. This year, we will nearly get to about 500 million pounds since we started 24 years ago. And almost every bit of that was food that was hot, it was properly chilled, it was properly packaged, it was properly labeled, and carried safely and served safely. We have never had a foodborne illness incident ever in almost 500 million pounds of prepared food. Food safety is critical. If someone messes up, we're all going to suffer big. Let's talk about 24 years. Pizza Hut donated 95 million pounds of pizza. KFC, 73 million pounds of chicken in 18 years. 13 years, 34 million pounds from Olive Garden. 35 million pounds from Red Lobster in 13 years, and Chipotle, 10 million pounds. Those aren't small numbers. It was a 1.2 pounds a meal, or let's say it's a pound to make it easy. Pizza Hut served 95 million meals on pizza that they were throwing away prior to starting a donation program. Those are big numbers. Who do we work with? This is Massachusetts alone. You might notice some of those names. You might recognize them. We do all Darden restaurants, all Bloomin' Brand, Cheesecake Factories, Chipotle's. We do Starbucks. We do Whole Foods. We do Wawa. We do the airport, around the HMS Host and OTG. We do a lot. So, but we're this much of it. Sounds like a lot. You know, we've heard so much information here this week that's almost overwhelming on how much the opportunity is. And it's going to take, I used this thing yesterday and said, you know, someone famous one day said it takes a village. We won't guess who that is. But it does take a village. It takes a lot of people to make this all happen and make it work. And it's got to be safe. I can't ever say enough, it's got to be safe. You know, we sit here and say, continue to debunk the myths. How do we reduce waste by 50% by 2015? You know, we have to address these people and say we don't have food. I talked to a CEO one time, and he said, you know, we've got the sophisticated planning systems, and our buyers are great, and we're so good, and we can do this so well. And at the end of it, I said, are you finished? And he said, yeah. And I said, there are two ways you don't have surplus food. Two. One is you're going to run out. And as a good customer at that restaurant, I said, that's going to make me angry. Or you're going to carry forward to the next day, which is absolutely the right of them to do that. Except they had an ad on TV that morning that said, from scratch every day. So I said, which one is it? He said, okay, we have surplus food. And I said, now we can talk. And as we talked, he really opened up and said, my real concern really is, or was, my shareholders are going to think we're poor managers of their dollars by saying we've got 10 million pounds of surplus food. I said, all that tells you is you've got quality standards and you stick to them. How many times do people say we've got a 30-minute hold time, 45 minutes later you still see it over there? And as a customer, I get it and say, something's not quite right with this. So these donation programs help them uphold their standards of food quality, and that's a big deal for the donor. You know, one of the big things we do is, with our agencies, we have found that a lot of agencies, most agencies do a wonderful job. We started a couple years ago giving insulated pouches with zip tops to all of our donors, all of our agencies that get food. And it really has become kind of standard in our business as far as making sure that the food is kept properly cool. We do geocode all of our agencies and donor locations, so we know literally where they all are on the planet. So when we have a new donor location say I want to donate, with a click of the mouse, I can see every single recipient potential agency around them by distance and every other donor around them by distance. And so we help try to manage the agencies efficiently with the donors. So if you've got Red Lobster, well, guess what? You know what Red Lobster is? You've got an Olive Garden, you've got a Longhorn, you've got a Capital Grille, they're all right there. It's the way they do it. So we try to get the same agency to pick it all up. You know, we need to make it efficient for the agencies to pick up food, even in small quantities, and a lot of our stores have very small quantities. So we need to debunk the myth of complicated logistics. Let's not overcomplicate this. We're talking common, basic food safety that your donors should be following. If you can cook it, you can cool it. We work with the agencies to ensure they can properly get it there safely and maintain temperature. Liability concerns, we've heard that all week here. Liability concerns are really pretty much unfounded. To this point, no one has ever, that we know, if it's gone to court over the Good Samaritan Act. That's a pretty good thing. Had a guy one time tell me, oh, we've been sued before with our food that we donated. I said, really? I said, that's funny because no one's ever filed a suit before. And I went, well, somebody told me that. So I think it really is, you know, we look at how we're going to help reduce waste. And really it is, it's keep pushing these donors. Social responsibility, again, Tristan and the team in there really said it well. Our consumer base is going to force donors to start donating food. It's going to become where if you're not the grocery or the restaurant that's not donating out there, people are going to call you out on it. I had Whole Foods in Atlanta. He had a woman that shopped every Thursday, and every Thursday she had him paged, and she asked him, what do you do with your surplus food? Every Thursday. And you know what his answer was every Thursday was, well, throw it all away. So we did a training on their store and got him started, and we trained on Wednesday. And he came up to me and said, I'm so excited. And I said, how's that? I said, I've got this handy. And he said, tomorrow's Thursday. So I saw him a month or two later, went to visit him, and I said, oh, by the way, how was your visit? He said, she kissed me. So customers want you to do the right thing. They absolutely do. So our business is to offer that help and assistance to run those. We give detailed reporting to the donors as to what they're donating to help with source reduction. We can't do source reduction for you. That's your producer's job, your production group. But we can give you very detailed information that will allow you to cook differently, order differently, prepare differently, display differently to help reduce at the source. All we want is any wholesome, good food that can be fed to people. That's what we want in our program. There's no minimum, there's no maximum. Trust me, there's plenty out there. We don't have to ask for minimums. It adds up in a big way. Thank you.
Hi, I am Karen Franchek from Whole Foods Market. I am the Green Mission Coordinator for the North Atlantic region. So I'm going to talk about our food donation program. Specifically, the details I'm going to give are relevant to this region. Our region is essentially New England, but it does apply to a lot of our stores. We have 11 U.S. regions. And so I'm going to go through that. This is a pared down. I only have like 4 slides essentially, so I'm going to mostly be talking. But I usually have 30 slides or so. I can give tons of detail, so I'm happy to talk more at length later if anybody wants information. But I just wanted to kind of give you an overview more specifically on prepared foods and on how our program's changed. So just a bit of background. I've been with Whole Foods for 15 years. I spent 12 and a half in the stores, and then I spent the last 2.5 in sustainability. So I am very familiar with operations. That's my world. So when it comes to something like food donations, for me, it's really easy to figure out how it lives in the store and how I get team members to understand it and what the issues are going to be and how I have to kind of get the program through. So that was my overall goal when I got in, was to try to make sure it was easy for team members to do. So for our region in particular, but I think for most of our stores, I don't know about the Atlanta store, that sounds a little suspicious to me, they were throwing everything away, but at any rate, essentially we generally always have a donation program because as we open stores, we partner with local community nonprofits, and there's always somebody who wants to pick up something. But it was very much an ad hoc program, so it was a local church that wants to pick up bakery items, then it was, a senior center that wanted to pick up on Wednesday night. So it was kind of a little bit of this and a little bit of that. And it was always our marketing team leader in the stores who coordinated it because they were the community liaisons. So it wasn't really the product teams. So 2 years ago, our prepared foods team heard about this great idea that you could actually freeze hot bar and we could actually donate our hot bar. So they went and talked to Food Donation Connection, which was already in our South region, and we were able to roll out that program. So a lot of things changed because that gave us the ability to look through our whole program for all of our stores, existing and new stores as we open, and see where the gaps were. So we started out by saying, what are we already donating? Which agencies are taking it? Can they take more food in different things? And when are they picking up? Most of the time, most of our stores have pickups just about, 4 to 6 days a week, but not always, and it wasn't always everything. So now, with Food Donation Connection, we're able to have pickups every day that we want it, and everything that we can possibly donate that the store has gets donated, including prepared foods. So it's worked out really well for us, as well as the reporting, which Steve talked about. It's been a great tool for us. So this actually is a picture that Steve took when he rolled out our Hadley Math Store. This team member, as you can see, was delighted because we were rolling out this program. And I know it's been said before, but one of the biggest things has been the morale for the team members, because even though it all went to compost, it wasn't going to landfill, it doesn't matter. It's going into a bag, it's going into a compactor, and people felt really bad about it. So that is actually the first day when they were training. Those are all hot bar items that we're going to get frozen and donated. So you can see just kind of the quantity of what we're talking about. And anyone who's been in any of our stores, you know our hot bars, I mean, there's a lot of food on there. So it was all going to waste before, and they gave us the ability to freeze it and then donate it safely, which has been awesome. And that's definitely been one of the biggest things for us to do. So this I wanted to put on here because one of the things that came up for us was some concerns. Board of Health, a few folks wanted to know specifically about allergens and what that looked like. So we've had a challenge in one particular city where they don't want us donating hot bar product. So we had long conversations with the Board of Health there about what their issues were, what their concerns were. And one of the things that they were concerned about was allergens, because when it's on the hot bar, we're not putting the list of everything that goes in. What happens when our team members prepare it at the end of the night, they're putting it on into a bag and they're labeling it, but they're writing mac and cheese. They're not writing pasta and milk and every other item that goes in. They're not able to. But, there's a valid concern that somebody who's at a food pantry who picks up this, hopefully if it's mac and cheese, they know it's dairy. But they might not know other ingredients. So there was a concern that people who are getting it don't have all the labels. Well, if you're going to tell our team members that at close they're trying to do a zillion things and then they've got to go label every ingredient on there, it's not going to happen. So we were trying to figure out ways to get around that. So one of the things that we did is put this on. And one of the things that we do in our stores is that if you come into the store and you come up to our chef's case and you say, I have a peanut allergy, but I want to get that food, it doesn't have any peanuts, right? Because I see on the sign it doesn't say peanuts. We're going to tell you we don't recommend that you get it. Even though it has no peanuts, it's in an open case. If you really have a severe allergy, you should be probably getting something that's prepackaged, not something from an open case. So same thing with this. So anything that came from our hot bar or any open case like that, we're going to recommend that if you have a serious allergen issue, that you don't consume it, even if it doesn't have it in the ingredients. So that was one of the things that we worked with FDC on. They were able to come up with these bags so that when they go, the person who's getting that, the end user, can actually see that it might have an allergen because it wasn't an open case. So I thought that was really helpful. The other thing we did is we got a list. A lot of our items that are on our hot bar are actually made at our kitchens in Everett, and so we got a list of all the ingredients for all the items that they produce, and we're able to send that to FDC so they can post it, so any of the agencies that get food can go up there and get the list of ingredients, so that if somebody who's getting it wants to know what's in it, we can do that. So those were a few of the things that we worked out because of the concerns that they had. So this is a great picture. I thought I saw Meg walk in before from Love and Spoonfuls, one of the agencies who work with Food for Free and Love and Spoonfuls, who are both here. And so this just happens to be a great picture, so I use it all the time. So thank you for posing for it, Meg. This is our receiver in Arlington. So we really appreciate, we work with, as you can see up there, we work with 100 agencies. So Love and Spoonfuls would be one, and Food for Free would be one. But those agencies work with a lot of smaller agencies. And, going back to the beginning, there are a lot of people who picked up from us who were like, they could come once a week, because that's when they had a volunteer. They can't come more often, but they have a bigger need. So by partnering with folks like Food for Free and Love and Spoonfuls who had that network, it really helped us to be able to meet a lot bigger need by having them do it, and it's consolidated. It's easier for us. We have one person picking up who takes care of everything. But we do work with 100 different agencies, and just through the call program, we are donating just under a ton a week per store. So that's we had 38 stores, we just opened 2 more, so now we have 40. So that's kind of what we're looking at as far as our donations. So that's all I have, and I'm happy to take questions after as well.
Great. So I just wanted to thank the panel once again for all your great content. And now we're going to open it up. We have about half an hour to do questions. I really encourage you guys to ask any question you have on donation and then even beyond donation that you think someone on the panel could answer in their field. I have some prepared questions, but I'd rather get yours first so we know where everyone is. And I'll pass this mic around. Here, I'll go here first, and then I'll come to you.
Oh, thank you so much. My question is for Steve. I work with a lot of food entrepreneurs, and you started by saying you've been doing this work for 24 years, which means you've been doing it before food tech exploded and everyone's trying to connect agencies and connect retailers through purely sort of mobile devices, for one classic example. Can you talk about, if you hear about these new technologies coming online saying we want to be connecting this, we want to be connecting that, what are the things that make you bash your head against the wall the most, that you feel like they don't understand, that you want them to understand?
There are too many tech devices. No. You know, and we operate a little bit differently. You know, our philosophy is we like to set a relationship between the donor and the recipient agencies. And a lot of these notification apps, is that what you're talking about? That tends to be able to spread food, but not necessarily consistently. A lot of them are saying, post that you have food, and it goes to agency number 1. If you don't say yes in 3 minutes, it goes to agency number 2. Well, if you're feeding a lot of people and you're agency number 1, and you happen to miss that text, you just missed the food. So our philosophy is, we like to pair, you know, we have agencies apply online to our website all the time that want to get food. We vet them, make sure they can handle the food properly. And then we load them in our system and put them on the needs food list. We probably have, 12, 13,000 agencies in our database.
Right, we have 27,000, about 13,000 after.
Okay, and then we only get food to about 9,000. So we have 3,000 agencies on our list that want food, and we just don't have donors for them. So we try to pair them up one at a time. I don't know if that answered your question, but the technology, there's some great technology out there. In fact, all our agencies report and sign electronically with us now. But as far as assigning agencies electronically, we're not quite there yet.
Can I share a thought on that? So I've worked with a lot of the app-based food recovery systems. Is Ricky here with Spoiler Alert? No. So one just like really simple thing that when we worked with Spoiler Alert, we realized pretty quickly is that in our operations, for food service at least, we don't encourage chefs to have their phones out. And many of them don't have smartphones. And so what Ricky and the Spoiler Alert team did is they created a platform that could be used on a computer, which is where our chefs might do more of their ordering, which was a really simple adjustment, but an important one. I agree with the relationship. I think that a chef is not necessarily going to, after the laundry list of all the other things they're doing, think to post or, do that. It's hard. Food service is hard. But one of the other challenges, I think, or kind of the cool opportunities, but the challenges with the app-based system is I think there is the potential to recover the more ad hoc or sort of like unexpected times when you have excess food, in particular at catered events. And the challenge with that is that a post would happen after a catered event, often at a very odd hour. And I don't know, I'm not sure how the app-based systems are navigating this. I anticipate it is a challenge and an opportunity. But, an event might wrap up quite late at night, and who's checking their phone to grab that? So those are just a couple of things.
Hi, I'm so excited to be here. Thank you all for everything you guys have said. And Steve, literally made my head spin yesterday with information. So I am in the events industry and trying to change it desperately. And what I tell my colleagues who are caterers and event planners and people who work at major venues, what I say to them is, I'm not concerned about the 10 plates that you're throwing away. I'm concerned that that's happening 500 times over a weekend in New England. So it's not 10, it's 1,000. Mm-hmm. So unless everybody gets on board, nobody's going to be able to pick up the food, because nobody can pick up food for 10 plates, but they could if there was, 400 plates within a 30-mile radius. So it has to start from there. So I've been very frustrated with trying to make it work. So I have a question for 3 of you. For Karen, is the cold bar prepared food donated as well? And if not, what happens to it? And that's for Karen. For Claire, you were talking about Bon Appetit, the tax deduction, not the tax deduction, I'm sorry, the certification. Okay. And I know that Food Recovery Network has something like that as well. And they charge the small business for it. So my question to you is, do you charge the small business for it? And if you do, is it possible to instead get paid via, like, let's say, a percentage of the tax deduction that they're saving from the donated food instead of charging them? Because I know with the businesses that I talk to, they don't want to pay anything. And they would rather give a percentage than have to pay, even if that percentage wound up being more over the course of the year. It's just the way the mind works. And for Steve, I have the biggest question, which is, sorry, Steve.
It's okay.
I have educated a lot of my colleagues on the Emerson Act. They know, because I've been a squeaky wheel and I've said it a million times. My thought is they're being cheap or stubborn or lazy, and that they're playing the liability card. So they're telling me it's because of liability issues, but it's really not. It's really just because they don't want to get off their butts. And what I try to say is, at first, when you're making a change, it will be a little squeaky. But over time, it'll be a well-oiled machine, and it'll be a part of your process. So my question is, do either of you, especially Steve, have any suggestions on how do I respectfully tackle that? Because they are my colleagues. So that's it. Thanks.
Great, so we'll go to Karen first.
Sure. So just to be clear, we donate everything that we can. So we donate hot bar, cold bar, sandwiches that are made that day, chef's case, produce, dairy, grocery, frozen, anything in the store that we can donate that's still safe to eat, we do donate. And that's why we rely on the 5 to 6 days a week. Just to talk about the liability, though, when we had the issue with the Board of Health in Boston that was concerned. We had a lot of conversations, upper leadership, beyond my level, and there was definitely the issue of being sued and liability came up. And I think that we feel good about everything that we do and the fact that everyone's ServSafe certified at our place. We know we're doing what we can. We know that the people who are picking it up are doing it. And I think one of the best answers to give is there's people like Whole Foods doing it. There's people like Pizza Hut. There's people like Olive Garden. So, and Whole Foods, God knows we get sued for a lot of things. So, so we're an easy target. So, I feel like that's one of those things so far, not sued for, food donations.
So we are going through the Food Recovery Network's Food Recovery Certified program, and we are the business that is paying for it. So our accounts are the businesses that are paying to get certified. It's a part of their commitment. So it's not being imposed on someone else. We're bearing that cost. And in terms of for businesses that, maybe smaller businesses that don't want to pay for that, and the idea of using tax benefits to try and cover that, I think it's a great idea. The challenge here for us is we don't seek tax benefit. We don't receive any tax benefits for our food donations. We don't seek them out for a number of reasons. We offer so there's a couple of reasons why we don't do it. First is the amount of information that we have to share. We're not like a Whole Foods that has like barcodes on things and a tracking system for every food we prepare. We're preparing meals, and we don't have very clear information on the value of that product, and then having that stand up when we're applying for these tax benefits. We don't have, the level of tracking that we have is merely we're donating X amount, and that's not enough for us to provide solid information to receive those tax benefits. Yeah.
Well, but what if the business is the one donating the food? And let's say, I'm just going to be hypothetical, let's say over the course of a year they donated $1,000 worth of food.
Yeah.
Okay. Then they're the ones writing that off. So they're the ones getting the up to 15% on enhanced tax deductions, benefits. So then theoretically, I'm really
so that it makes perfect sense.
They could pay you at the end of the year.
We are the business, so we're a food service business.
So right, she's not.
They would take the tax
So
deduction.
we would take the tax deduction, and what I'm saying is we're not taking the tax deduction because the amount of data that we have on what we're donating is not sound enough to receive that tax deduction. No, and I'd love to see that change. And I know there are folks out there that are trying to navigate that, but as it stands right now, I don't know if Sodexo's not, a lot of these larger businesses are not receiving tax deductions for their
And it's
donations.
hard, the reason Claire's talking about is it's different from a restaurant. So a restaurant sells that same meal every day, so they know, like a Darden restaurant, if they don't, sell a portion of lasagna, they know what the fair market value of that lasagna is, and then if they have a pan of 10, then they know how much that is worth. So it's an easy calculation. And what Claire's saying is just it's harder because of all the food they're preparing in the meals.
Every day is a different menu. So, yeah.
Well, one of the things I didn't tell you is we do all the tax preparation for all of our donors, and it is complex. It absolutely is complex.
Including caterers.
Yeah, including caterers. It does take time. It does take some effort to get it started, but certainly well worth it with the amount of money that comes back. About the liability issue, I'm to the point now that I would tell you the name calling dropping names is a big deal now. Chick-fil-A is not a piece of cake. We're rolling out Chick-fil-A nationally now. They don't take food safety lightly. McDonald's is starting to roll up nationally with us now. They don't take food safety lightly. Whole Foods doesn't take food safety lightly. Yum Brands doesn't. Darden doesn't. So when you start throwing the key players in the industry are doing it and haven't been scared because of food liability, that's really harder to push back on when everyone around them's doing it and they're not.
I've been trying to do that. We have Gillette on board. We have Fairmont Coffee Plaza, Burke Natick, Hampshire House. We've got some great people on board, but then the answer back to me is, yeah, but they're bigger than we are. We don't have, so it's almost like y'all are too big. You know what I mean?
I would tell you this. You have my business card. Tell them to call me. Or I'll call them. I will.
And I had a couple over here, and then I'm going to come back.
We deal with 357 companies. Most of those are one and two store operators. We talk about the big chains because that's where the waste reduction is occurring.
Sure.
But we work with many.
And he's right, it's absolutely possible to do it for a small caterer. They can do it. I think they're worried because they don't understand food safety sometimes in the way that some of the bigger brands do. So if we explain that to them, they can be ServSafe certified, which is something the National Restaurant Association does. But if they understand food safety really well, then they're more comfortable with it. So maybe that's part of the issue.
Caterer's biggest concern is they don't want to take the time to take it back, maintain temperature, and get it cold late at night.
Yes.
That's what it is.
That, and that's what
I will also add, though, that as someone who has tried to launch food recovery and continues to launch food recovery programs across the country, I think there's a serious problem in the lack of guidance around what it means to safely donate food. We've had health inspectors walk into our operations and tell us that we can't be doing what we're doing. We've had, I know of a college who's received a cease and desist letter from the local or the State Department of Agriculture or there are things that are perpetuating these myths that are not that do need to be addressed if we want to change the culture.
Thank you.
First of all, I have a comment to you, which is you shouldn't assume that there are no organizations that will pick up 10 plates, because we serve 40 organizations, and we serve shelters that serve 12 people and organizations that serve 450 meals a day. So if you have leftovers like that, and we're in Massachusetts, it's great to find organizations that really may be willing to come pick up 10 plates, and you don't have to throw them away. And Steve, I have a quick question for you. It's probably a yes or no. We do work with you on a number of places, Pizza Hut and Olive Garden, etc. But now we're trying to increase our food donors, and I'm wondering, with your experience, if you can help us, if we give you names of places around us, if you could help be an advocate for more food donation with all the, you carry a lot of weight with how many you serve.
I would be happy to call.
Okay, great. I'm going to be in touch with you.
Thank you. I work at the state level in North Carolina, and one of the things that we provide is our funds towards recycling. I focus on organic waste. One of the things that we've done in the past has been providing funds towards food rescue organizations to get refrigerated trucks. And my question goes around the infrastructure need to expand those efforts. I know perhaps you guys have seen some savings in some of the food donated, perhaps not. I'm not really sure. I know some organizations talk about that, and they say, oh, okay, we're saving money on tipping fees, we're saving money by doing this and that. Could you guys speak a little bit about the funding required for food rescue organizations and perhaps some of the savings that other restaurants or catering companies are seeing. I know there's a lot of work involved, just separating food, time and spent by the chefs, the workers to get that food ready and then give it out to you guys. But could you guys speak about that? Thanks.
Well, I can only speak for food service providers, but we are not seeing savings from food donations. As I mentioned, we're not seeing the tax benefits, and more often than not, we don't handle facilities wherever we're a contracted food service provider, so we don't pay for the hauling away of the waste. And in fact, we are often bearing the cost of both packaging the food, which is not significant and should not be a barrier to food recovery, but not just the labor involved in that, but also the actual packaging we often do pay for. It varies from program to program. So, yeah, that, I don't know if you, yeah.
We definitely see savings. There's absolutely no question. As I said, I came from the stores, so for me, part of what I do, we donate because it's the right thing, and there's a lot of reasons to do it. But I also go ahead and do all the math so I can show all the stores how much they're saving by donating. We don't pay to have our donations picked up. It's done for free. So we definitely save on hauling, and we save on tipping fees for compost. So there's no question that we save money by doing this. It's one of the things I will make sure I tell people in the stores. Beyond that, I think that it's also one of the things where we try to work with our the donors the agencies who pick up to make sure that we're finding out what they need and we can work with them. So as we open new stores, we're trying to make sure we talk to them. As I said, Food for Free and Lovin' Spoonfuls are two agencies that are local that we work with a lot, and we try to make sure we continue to work with them in any way we can, whether we're doing, we actually sponsored Lovin' Spoonfuls tailgate party last November that they did, because I really believe in the work they were doing. It was an opportunity we had to partner with them on that. So wherever we can do stuff like that, we do it. But absolutely, we save money. No
I
question.
can't answer on saving money on tipping fees, but I will tell you, I don't ever want anybody to overburden themselves with how much labor it takes to do this program. I think, in Whole Foods, for example, the only change that they had in their, they were pulling stuff before, scanning it, throwing it away, hauling out to the trash can or compost, actually depackaging it and putting it in the compost. So now they pull it, scan it, put it in a different container, and put it in the cooler. They're done. Hot bar. I closed hot bars for 5 weeks while we were testing the process myself, and I bagged 176 pounds of hot bar food in less than 20 minutes. So, most of our donors, Bill, Darden did a study several years ago, and they said it takes about 15 minutes a day per location to do food donation, and it was reallocated labor. In other words, what they said was, we've never scheduled more payroll for food donation. It's absorbed in the day.
In our newest ones, I said this at a food safety meeting yesterday, McDonald's in particular, who's been sold at the party for a number of reasons, has moved up because they're realizing savings on it. They're getting source reduction. As efficient as they are, once you start saving and measuring, as Andrew knows very well, you start to find ways to save. So what we've tried to do, we have for 24 years been based on savings. That's why we push the tax savings. That's how we're funded. That's how we buy pouches. That's how we pay for bags. That's how we provide the food safety stuff needed. So Dana challenged me yesterday to see if we can maybe go back to our donors and try to increase that percentage. I know Feeding America is going to make a big change in refrigerated vans thanks to funds from Starbucks, which is essentially coming from the donations, the tax savings for the donations. It's a long road, right. But there's funding to be tapped if we can encourage groups. I cringe, and I understand won't have to be so. I cringe when I hear that people aren't taking advantage of a tax deduction that Congress has said you deserve, you earn. And if they don't want to take it, then they should pull it back to Feeding America or Food Recovery Network. I know I talked with Food Recovery yesterday. They're trying to figure out sustainable ways. That's what certification is all about, trying to build an income stream. And I'm on board. Again, nobody asked me this question, but I'm on board pushing donors that have tax savings to bring that back to the movement.
Yeah, I just want to clarify that, there's a tax benefit towards Starbucks.
I'm ignoring you.
They are able to take a tax donation based on the food that's being donated, but they are also able to take a tax donation for the upfront funding that they're providing
That's right.
to help build the infrastructure. I just wanted to break apart the same product.
Yeah, but there's payback over
Yeah,
time.
exactly.
And Starbucks has been donating pastries for 7 years and it's had substantial tax savings.
Okay, I'm going to try and pull this together. So thinking about waste reduction, and so I can shop at Whole Foods and Panera. I can afford Whole Foods and Panera. People on SNAP, my friends, my neighbors, cannot. They're not allowed to buy hot prepared foods on SNAP. And they don't have any political power or voice to change that. But your stakeholders and customers and businesses do. And so I'm wondering if there is any effort from for-profit industry to push those changes, to expand those options so that this isn't a after the fact, but we're just opening up the doors to more customers so that people on SNAP can come to your restaurant and buy prepared foods at a time that works for them, that is dignified, their schedule. They're not needing to go to a food pantry to pick up the food after the fact at a set time on a set day. You have more customers, increases your bottom line. I mean, it's a win-win-win, and so I'm wondering if there's push from your industries to make that happen. It's not lowering prices, but it's also not these regressive taxes that we keep passing down to people that we are all here talking about that aren't actually here in this room.
For Whole Foods, I can say that we don't do a lot of policy as a company. Even things like GMOs, which is clearly something we have a strong opinion about, we tend to not get involved. I'm not sure what to say because I'm sure this is being recorded. Anyone who follows Whole Foods knows that John Mackey has strong opinions, which he shares. And so I think there's a lot of, and we have a very open dialogue in our company, especially among our E-team. Walter Robb will have different opinions on John Mackey, and there's a lot going on. So we don't get involved in policy per se, I don't think. We do have a lot of folks who use EBT cards and other things at our stores, and we definitely try to accommodate all shoppers and do cooking lessons and all kinds of things like that. So we'll try to work with folks, but as far as changing policy, it's not really something that we do. We focus more on internal animal welfare standards, that kind of stuff that we do, and try to influence in that way, but we don't tend to get involved in policy. So probably not what you're looking for, but that's the reality.
Yeah, I think Panera has a similar philosophy that we'd rather lead with kind of actions and initiatives as opposed to playing in the policy arena. So some of you may be aware of our Panera Cares cafes. We have one in Boston, one in Dearborn, one in St. Louis, and those are cafes where people pay what they can when they go into a cafe. So some people may pay more than a meal is cost. Some may not pay at all. And so that's something that we've done to really raise awareness on the issue of food insecurity. And we found to be really effective just in terms of awareness outside of the policy arena.
Well, just to answer that question, some of our major donors have approached on SNAP and they got ripped apart in the press. So any movement to use SNAP funds, Lord knows who the NRA was in it too, indirectly they weren't, and I'm not going to say who the companies were, but they had the same thought process. They said so many homeless people, so many traveling, they don't have a way to prep food, and SNAP was the ideal, even to the point where they were willing to make some reductions for SNAP users. So if it occurred within, and this goes back a couple of years, so if it would occur within this movement, to say it where there's not self-interest or a perceived self-interest in it. So yeah, so there are companies out there that stuck their neck out. Now we didn't jump in with it because we represent so many, but we provided some data too, and I don't know how much more.
Yeah, I don't handle that.
But if we started from in here, there's a lot of sense to it.
Yeah.
A lot of sense. Even if the customers would agree to a disguised reduction to SNAP recipients or something like that.
And I can get you more
information. Start from the movement, not from the donor.
Mar from extrafood.org. So a question for Laura. I think many of us in this room spend a lot of time food raising and trying to change behavior. Actually, I usually say I spend 75% of my time food raising and 75% of my time fundraising, probably like most of the people in this room, right? So the Conserve program sounds really interesting, and I know we probably, like many of you in this room, are often working to get other partners involved in basically a sales and marketing effort in our community to recruit more food donors. So I'm wondering, vis-a-vis the Conserve program or any other efforts that the NRA has, to what extent are you pushing that out to restaurants, and to what extent do you or your connected local restaurant organizations represent marketing, or we might say sales and marketing partners for the organizations in this room?
So that's a great question. So the Conserve program started a couple of years ago, and it has had a marketing and consumer push around it, but it is something we need to do more of. The way we've done it now is it's an open website. We do a monthly newsletter. We have the Restaurant Association has about 500,000 members, and we send to them information all the time, articles about food donation or various other environmental education how-to toolkits and white papers and things like that. But then beyond that, we have our state restaurant associations that are affiliates with the national. And so we'll send information to the states. We co-brand all that information. And so that anyone in the state restaurant association can get to any of the resources that we've provided. But it's an ongoing challenge to get, and I know you guys have heard this, you have to hear something 3 to 5 times for it to really stick. For someone to want to read an article about something that's not, they don't always view it as necessary in their organization, it's hard to get them to change their mind and change their behavior. So it's a constant struggle, and we're doing a lot of different things. We're actually starting to talk about creating a new center at NRA, a Center for Food Excellence and Sustainability, that would be a repository of information to give to our members and all restaurants on donation.
Quick follow-up question. That sounds great. Is your marketing, your outreach, focused primarily on your program and on food donation as a component of sustainability practices in general, or might there also be opportunities for organizations like ours in this room to actually participate by name in any of those programs?
Yeah, absolutely, and we do that now. So we have a partnership with Food Donation Connection. We have a partnership with Feed America. We have one with Lean Path where we offer a discount to our members if they sign up for that. So we have a couple of those out there, and we're always happy to do more. So contact me afterwards. We only have about 1 minute, 2 minutes left. Are we done? Like 1 minute. So one last question. I think you had your hand up for a while.
Hi, I wondered if anybody has looked at how you break down the barrier for a hotel or hotel chain where you want to bring in recovered food. I'm planning a conference, it's a national conference in Boston in October. We want to do what they did here at Harvard. I don't know what it took to get through the Harvard Food Service people to say, yeah, you can do it with the hotel policies. Always, no, we don't take any food, from outside. Has anybody ever taken that on and tried to crack that nut? Any advice?
I have enough people say they struggle to get in the contract to have their surplus from the hotel donated to the function.
Right. So
Chick-fil-A actually did their national conference this year, and the Marriott and 2 Marriott properties in Orlando actually did donate it because we went down there to help them do that.
Okay. What they did here was they used Harvard Law School's catering.
Yeah.
And that's who donated most of it. Not all of it, but most of it. And so, one way is to work with, I don't know how many hotels right now have a donation program. A lot of them in this area I know do not. So their caterers I'm sure have surplus.
Yeah.
They may be willing to use that towards it. Because the only other thing I want to bring up, I spoke with Sustainable America who handled it here and made it happen. Because we always get calls asking for donated food for events.
Right.
And the food we're picking up is targeted for individuals who can't access food on their own. And so I would encourage those who do food rescue meals, which I think are great ways to educate, to really be conscious of not
taking Western food that was otherwise bound for low-income populations.
Right.
Well, thank you, everybody, for attending the